They feel everything and show almost nothing. That's the contradiction most people never understand about INFJs. On the surface, they look calm, controlled, even distant, but internally, the emotional intensity doesn't disappear. It just stays hidden, processed quietly, without needing to be expressed. What makes this more complex is that INFJs don't ignore their emotions, they analyze them. They separate what they feel from how they respond. So while others react immediately, INFJs pause, filter, and translate emotion into something controlled. And that creates a gap between what they experience inside and what the world actually sees. In this video, we're breaking down the emotional contradiction inside every INFJ and why they can feel so deeply while appearing completely unaffected. The internal processing, the hidden intensity, and the reason their emotional world rarely matches their external behavior. If you've ever felt like your emotions are stronger than what you show, stay until the end. And subscribe to Brainy Quiet Mind for more insights into the hidden patterns most people never notice. They feel deeply connected to people but need distance to stay balanced. Deep connection, strong pull, necessary distance. There is a moment when the INFJ feels completely aligned with someone, not just on the surface, but beneath it. They understand the tone behind the words, the emotion behind the silence, the patterns that shape the person. And that connection feels real, intense, almost immediate. But at the same time, something else begins to happen. The need to step back. This distance is not rejection, it is regulation. The INFJ does not disconnect because they don't care. They disconnect because they feel too much. The more they understand, the more they absorb. The more they connect, the more the other person's emotional state begins to affect their own. And without distance, that intensity becomes overwhelming. So they create space, not to break the connection, but to protect their balance within it. From the outside, this shift can feel confusing. One moment, the INFJ is fully present, engaged, deeply connected. The next, they seem distant, quieter, less available. But internally, the connection hasn't disappeared. It's still there, just managed differently. They are recalibrating, returning to their own center so they don't lose themselves in the connection they created. What makes this contradiction difficult is that both sides are real. The desire to connect deeply does not go away. The need for distance does not go away either. And the INFJ moves between these two states constantly, engaging, then stepping back, connecting, then recalibrating. Not because they are inconsistent, but because both are necessary. Over time, this becomes a pattern. The INFJ learns that staying too close for too long leads to imbalance, while staying too distant prevents meaningful connection, and navigating between those two creates a rhythm that others may not fully understand. Because for the INFJ, connection is not light, it is deep, layered, and intense. And once they understand, a sigma am the opposite of connection. It is what allows it to exist without becoming overwhelming. They crave understanding, but struggle to fully express themselves, need to be understood. Words fall short, inner world complex. There is a moment when the INFJ wants to explain something and realizes the words won't carry it. The thought is clear internally, layered, connected, precise, but translating it into something simple enough to say feels incomplete. What they feel is structured, but what they can express feels reduced. This creates a tension that doesn't resolve easily. The INFJ wants to be seen accurately, not partially. They want someone to understand not just the surface of what they say, but the depth behind it. But when they try to express it, they filter it. They simply understand, and they don't warn you. Sigma and Lee Spine, by Ebering, you know that process, part of the meaning is lost. From the outside, it can look like they are quiet, reserved, or even distant. But internally, it is not absence of thought, it is too much of it. They are processing multiple layers at once, deciding what can be said, what should be left unsaid, what might be misunderstood if expressed directly. And because of that, what comes out rarely feels complete to them. What makes this contradiction stronger is that the need for understanding does not decrease. The INFJ continues to seek connection at a deep level, while still feeling that their expression doesn't fully represent their internal world. And this creates a gap between what they experience and what others perceive. Over time, this becomes a pattern. The INFJ learns to express enough to communicate, but not everything they actually process. They adapt their communication to what can be received, even if it doesn't fully match what exists internally. Because for the INFJ, understanding is not just about being heard, it is about being seen accurately. And when the inner world is more complex than what can easily be expressed, that understanding feels close, but never fully complete. They read others easily but feel misunderstood themselves. Clear perception, accurate reading, incomplete reflection. There is a moment when the INFJ understands someone without being told. The tone, the hesitation, the shift in energy, it's enough. They can see what the person is feeling, what they are avoiding, what they are trying to express without saying it directly, and that understanding feels precise, almost effortless. But when the direction reverses, something changes. The same clarity they use to understand others is rarely applied to them. People hear what they say, but don't always see what they mean. They respond to the surface, while the deeper layers remain unnoticed. And because the INFJ doesn't always express everything directly, those layers stay hidden. From the outside, this creates a gap that is difficult to see. The INFJ appears to understand others fully, responding in ways that feel aligned and accurate. But internally, they feel only partially understood in return. Not completely misread, just not fully seen. And that difference creates a subtle distance in connection. What makes this contradiction stronger is that the INFJ does not expect surface-level understanding. They naturally operate at a deeper level. So when interactions stay at the surface, the connection feels incomplete. Even when communication is clear, it doesn't always reach the depth they experience internally. Over time, this becomes a pattern. The INFJ continues to read others accurately while adjusting their own expression to fit what can be understood. They simplify, filter, and reduce complexity to make communication easier, even if it means leaving parts of themselves unexpressed. Because for the INFJ, understanding is not symmetrical. They can see others with clarity but are not always seen the same way in return. And when that imbalance remains, the connection doesn't feel broken, it just never feels fully complete. They want honesty, but soften the truth to protect others. Raw truth valued, impact considered, delivery softened. There is a moment when the INFJ sees something clearly and chooses not to say it the way they see it. The truth is, they're precise, direct, complete. But they pause, not because they doubt it, but because they understand what it might do if delivered without adjustment. And in that pause, the message begins to change. This change is intentional. The INFJ doesn't remove the truth, they reshape it. They reduce intensity, adjust wording, remove elements that might cause unnecessary harm. The core remains, but the edges are softened, not to manipulate, but to protect the other person from receiving more than they can handle at that moment. The focus shifts from accuracy alone to impact. From the outside, this can feel balanced. The INFJ communicates honestly, but in a way that feels controlled and considerate. But internally, there is a contradiction. They value direct truth. They respect clarity. Yet they also recognize that truth, without awareness of its effect, can create damage instead of understanding. And that creates a constant adjustment between what is accurate and what is appropriate. What makes this contradiction stronger is that it doesn't resolve into one side. The INFJ doesn't stop valuing honesty. They don't stop considering emotional impact either. Both remain active at the same time, and each situation requires a decision. How much truth to express, how directly to deliver it, how to balance clarity with care. Over time, this becomes a pattern. The INFJ develops a way of communicating that carries truth, but rarely in its rawest form. They adapt it to the context, the person, the moment. And while this makes their communication effective, it also means that what they express is not always the full version of what they see. Because for the INFJ, honesty is not just about being accurate. It is about being responsible for how that accuracy affects others. And when both matter, the truth is never removed. It is shaped into something that can be received without breaking what it reaches. They are emotionally intense but externally controlled. Strong emotion, silent exterior, pressure contained. There is a moment when the INFJ feels something deeply, and nothing on the outside reflects it. The reaction is there internally, clear, immediate, intense. But it doesn't move outward. It is held, processed, contained before it reaches expression. And because of that, the external response stays calm, measured, almost unaffected. This control is not suppression. The INFJ is fully aware of what they feel. They don't ignore it, they don't dismiss it. They observe it, understand it, and decide how it should be expressed. If at all, the emotion is separated from the reaction, and in that separation, intensity remains internal, while expression becomes intentional. From the outside, this creates a contrast that is difficult to read. Others may assume the INFJ is not affected, not deeply involved, not emotionally engaged. But internally, the opposite is true. The intensity exists fully, it is just not displayed automatically, and because it is not visible, it is often misunderstood. What makes this contradiction stronger is that both sides are constant. The emotional depth does not decrease, and the control does not disappear. The INFJ continues to feel strongly while choosing to express selectively, and this creates a consistent gap between what is experienced and what is shown. Over time, this becomes a pattern of internal processing. The INFJ doesn't react to every emotional shift externally. They allow it to exist internally, analyze it, and decide what it means before letting it influence their behavior. And because of that, their external presence remains stable even when their internal state is not. Because for the INFJ, emotion is not something to display immediately. It is something to understand first. And when intensity is processed before expression, what is seen on the outside doesn't reflect how strong it is, it reflects how controlled it has become. They seek meaning in everything but feel overwhelmed by it. Meaning pursued, layers uncovered, weight accumulates. There is a moment when something small happens, and the INFJ doesn't leave it as it is. A simple conversation, a passing reaction, a quiet decision, it all becomes something to understand. What does this reveal? What does it lead to? Why did it happen this way? And once that process begins, the moment expands beyond its surface. This expansion is automatic. The INFJ doesn't choose to go deeper, it happens instantly. One layer leads to another. A single event connects to patterns, patterns connect to meaning, meaning connects to larger questions. And before they realize it, what started as something simple becomes something complex. Not confusing, but dense. Structured, full of connections that don't easily resolve. From the outside, nothing seems different. The situation remains simple. Others move past it without questioning, without analyzing, without needing to understand more than what is visible. But internally, the INFJ is still processing. The moment hasn't ended for them. It has expanded into something that continues to unfold. What makes this contradiction stronger is accumulation. It doesn't happen once, it happens continuously. Each situation adds another layer, another connection, another meaning to process. And while this creates depth of understanding, it also creates pressure. Too many layers, too many connections, too much meaning existing at the same time. Over time, this becomes overwhelming. Not because meaning is negative, but because it is constant. The INFJ is not just experiencing reality, they are interpreting it at a level that doesn't stop. And without space to simplify, that depth begins to feel heavy. Because for the INFJ, meaning is not optional. It is how they engage with the world. But when everything carries meaning, nothing stays light. And that is where the contradiction forms. The same depth that creates understanding also creates the weight they have to carry. They trust their intuition, but still question it internally. Clear signal, immediate knowing, quiet doubt. There is a moment when the INFJ senses something before it's visible. A shift in tone, a subtle inconsistency, a direction a situation is moving toward, and the understanding arrives instantly. No step-by-step reasoning, no external confirmation, just a clear internal signal that feels accurate. But alongside that clarity, something else appears. A second layer, a question. Is this correct? Am I interpreting this accurately? The intuition is strong, but it is not accepted blindly. The INFJ doesn't move on it immediately without examination. They pause, observe further, look for alignment between what they sensed and what continues to unfold. From the outside, this creates a contrast that is difficult to see. The INFJ may appear confident in their perception, calm in their decisions, aligned in their responses. But internally, there is evaluation happening at the same time. They are not only trusting the signal, they are testing it, not out of insecurity, but out of precision. What makes this contradiction stronger is that both processes are constant. The intuition continues to generate accurate signals. The questioning continues to refine them. The INFJ doesn't choose one over the other. They operate with both simultaneously: instinct and analysis, signal and verification. Over time, this becomes a pattern of calibrated awareness. The INFJ learns when their intuition aligns consistently and when it needs more observation. They don't ignore it, but they don't rely on it without context. And through that balance, their perception becomes more accurate. Because for the INFJ, intuition is not just something to trust, it is something to understand. And when you both believe in it and question it at the same time, what remains is not blind confidence. It is clarity that has been tested internally before it becomes action. They want deep relationships, but withdraw when it gets too much depth desired. Intensity rises. Distance created. There is a moment when the INFJ connects with someone, and it goes beyond surface quickly. The conversation feels real. The understanding feels aligned. The interaction carries meaning. It's not casual, it's not shallow. It's exactly the kind of connection they seek. And for a while, everything feels right. But as that depth grows, something else begins to build. The emotional intensity increases, the connection becomes more demanding, the presence of the other person starts to occupy more internal space. And at a certain point, the INFJ feels the shift, not in the connection itself, but in their ability to hold it without losing balance. This is where withdrawal begins, not as rejection, not as loss of interest, but as regulation. The INFJ steps back to create space, to reduce the intensity, to return to a stable internal state. From the outside, this can feel sudden. The same person who is fully present now appears distant, quieter, less engaged, but internally, the connection is still there. It's just no longer being sustained at the same level. What makes this contradiction difficult is that both sides remain true. The INFJ does not stop wanting deep relationships. They do not stop valuing connection. But they also cannot remain in a state of constant intensity without becoming overwhelmed. And because of that, they move between closeness and distance. Over time, this becomes a pattern that others may not fully understand. The INFJ connects deeply, then withdraws to regain balance, then reconnects again. Not because they are inconsistent, but because the depth they seek requires space to be sustained. Because for the INFJ, connection is not light or casual, it is immersive. And when something is that intense, stepping back is not the opposite of connection. It is what allows it to continue without becoming too much to carry. They give emotional support freely but rarely ask for it. Support given, burden absorbed, needs withheld. There is a moment when the INFJ becomes the one everyone turns to. Not because they asked for it, but because they understand. They listen without interrupting, respond without judgment, and see what others are struggling to express. And because of that, people open up. They trust, they rely, and the INFJ gives, consistently, naturally, without hesitation. This giving is not forced, it comes from awareness. The INFJ senses what others need before it's said, and meets it without being asked. Comfort, clarity, perspective. They provide it quietly, but while this exchange feels balanced on the surface, something is missing underneath. The direction rarely reverses. The same depth they offer is not often returned. From the outside, this can look stable. The INFJ appears capable, composed, emotionally available. There is no visible sign that anything is lacking. But internally, the pattern is different. When they need support, they don't reach for it the same way. Not because they don't need it, but because expressing that need feels difficult. They argues to being the one who understands, not the one who asks to be understood. What makes this contradiction stronger is that the need still exists. The INFJ feels deeply, processes intensely, carries emotional weight like anyone else. But instead of externalizing it, they internalize it. They process alone, resolve internally, and move forward without asking others to hold that space for them. Over time, this creates imbalance. The INFJ continues to give, continues to support, continues to be present for others, but their own need for support remains unexpressed. Not ignored, just contained. And because it is not shared, it is not always met. Because for the INFJ, giving support feels natural. Asking for it does not. And when those two are not equal, the connection doesn't feel empty, but it carries a quiet absence that only they are fully aware of. That's the contradiction most people never see. It's not confusion, it's two truths existing at the same time. You can feel deeply and stay controlled. You can want connection and still need distance. You can understand others clearly and still feel unseen yourself. And when all of that happens at once, it doesn't make you inconsistent. It makes you complex. If you've ever felt like you're balancing two opposite sides of yourself at the same time, now you understand why. Let me know in the comments which of these contradictions you relate to the most. And if you want to turn this complexity into clarity instead of conflict, subscribe to Brainy Quiet Mind, where understanding yourself becomes your greatest advantage.